this is it. This is the moment. I've read about 50 books this year, not counting rereads and secret art projects I can't talk about just yet. But yeah, 50 books whittled down to a top 10. These are the best books I read this year. Now, as always, books are linked down below in the description. I don't do spoilers, have a look for yourself. And at number 10, I start cheating already because this is basically a series of over 40 books now. I've read 3 of them this year and I'll just condense them into one spot. This is the Horus Heresy. It is set in the universe of Warhammer 40k and it is everything you expect from a space opera. It is grand, it is epic, it is over the top, and I've been enjoying myself with those books. Now, at first I was a bit skeptical because each book is often written by a different author, and those things sometimes just don't work, but in the case of the Horus Heresy, they absolutely do. These books are full of epic battles and grand moments. It is biblical. The character of Horus is both Jesus and Satan at the same time. It is a lot to unpack, and I absolutely am here for it. If you're looking for a different approach to sci-fi, if you're looking for a grand epic space opera, if you're looking for a grimdark world with morally great characters and no one is really the good guy, then the Horus Heresy is for you. The Horus Heresy is not for you, however, if you're not willing to invest in a lot of world building, if you're not here for a series that goes on for 40 books and counting, and if you're not here for, well, a very masculine world. At number 10, the Horus Heresy. The next book is something totally different, and it is, in my own translation, His Scent After the Rain by Cédric Sapin-Dufour. Yes, I know it has been translated into English from French, but the title translation is a simple abomination. I won't be using it. And yes, this book had me destroyed. It is a very simple book at its core. It is the story of a man who one day decides that he's going to get a dog. He drives out into the countryside, gets a puppy, and then comes home, never owned a dog before, isn't really used to what it is to be a dog owner, but their bond soon starts to grow, and grow, and grow. The two become inseparable, as dog owners and their pets often are, and it is a very poetic book about this bond between a dog as a companion. But it does describe the entire journey, including the saying farewell. And yeah, if you're a dog owner, this book will destroy you. But amidst of all the sadness and grief and heartbreak you will be going through, this is also a very beautifully written book. It is a very poetical book. There isn't much plot, much story going on, but it is told ever so well. And yeah, this is a book for you if you're a dog person. This is a book for you if you're an animal lover. And this is absolutely a book for you if you love poetic, flowery, descriptive, atmospheric language. Because this is where this book absolutely shines. Now, if you're looking for a book with a lot of plots, a lot of fast-paced action, well, then this is definitely not the book for you. If you're in for a good cry, however, if you're in for a beautifully told story about relationship between man and dog, then this is absolutely the book for you. His Scent After the Rain, or that other abominable title, by Cédric Sapin-Dufour. And then at number 8 we have a YA fantasy. A YA fantasy by Brian Sanderson. And yeah, this is the point where I have to admit that I had never ever read a Brian Sanderson book before. So Dress of the Emerald Sea was my first, and I will say I absolutely loved it. This is one of these secret project books by Brian Sanderson. This is not set in one of his many series out there, but it is more or less a standalone with connections to the whole multiverse. It is a YA, almost coming-of-age story about a young girl, Tress, who lives in the Emerald Sea on an island. It is a story of companionship, of finding your own path, of discovering your own identity, of friendship, of blossoming romance even, and it is full of quirky characters, strange, very interesting world building, and actually a very decent story. If Treasure of the Emerald Sea is anything to go by to judge the other Bryan Sanderson books, and you can let me know down below in the comments if it is, then I'm here for it. Then 2025 might be the year that I start devouring Sanderson. I can't wait for it to be translated into Dutch so I can share it with my son, but for now, Treasure of the Emerald Sea is a little gem at number 8. And then at number 7 we have a little horror book. This is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, and it is a strange one. This is a story of Area X, an area that has been cut off from the rest of the world for decades now. Nature has taken over there, and, well, strange phenomena are going on. 11 expeditions have ventured into Area X so far, and while not all of these expeditions have been a great success. So we enter the story at the beginning of the 12th expedition. There are 4 members, we never get to learn their names, and as they venture into this strange world that is Area X, things are going to get very creepy and crazy. I won't tell you much about the story from there on because it's a very short book and you have to experience it for yourself. It is a little bit of Lovecraft, it is a little bit of Stanley Kubrick, it is very atmospheric, it is claustrophobic, and the tension building in this book, chef's kiss. From the beginning of the story, the unease you are experiencing as a reader just slowly grows and creeps up on you like all of these strange vines in this dense jungle world. And you simply know something has got to give. If you're a fan of the strange, the bizarre, the Lovecraftian, and the very psychological nature of horror, then this is absolutely the book for you. If you loved shows like Lost or Twin Peaks back in the day, again, you will absolutely devour this book. Now, if you're someone who's looking for answers, for a clear ending, for everything to be explained by the end, well, this might not be the book for you. Yes, it does give some answers, but those answers cause a lot more questions. It is both original and offsetting, maddening and magnificent. It is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. And at number 6 we have another very short and very strange, almost creepy little novel. This is A Shining by John Fosse. Now, John Fosse won the Nobel Prize, of course, and from there on a lot of people have been discovering his work, including me. Now, I'm always a bit skeptical of Nobel Prize winners because the jury tends to have a very different taste than I do, so I wasn't going to be investing in the whole septology series from the get-go. No. I wanted to wade in carefully, gently with a little novella called A Shining. And holy mackerel, this book. The story again is deceitfully simple. We meet a man, doesn't really have a name, he just gets into his car, he starts driving into the woods, it starts snowing, he decides to go off-road, drives into the forest until his car gets stuck, he gets out, and in the meantime it is full blizzard out there and he just walks into the night, into the snow. That's it. That's the story. But is this a great example of stream of consciousness if I ever saw one? Throughout this strange nocturnal drive and walk we get to experience all of his emotions and all of his thoughts. And just like these snowflakes that come from everywhere, all of his thoughts hit us at once. We go from religion to the death of his parents to relationships, who he is. It packs a lot of punch. Again, full of symbolism. I mean, you can find lots of Bible references in there, literary references. It is not a book on itself. It is a lot of books at the same time. If you're looking for a challenge in the form of a book, if you're looking for a book that makes you think, that provokes questions inside of your head, and that will absolutely stay rent-free for a couple of weeks in your mind, well then, A Shining is absolutely the book for you. However, if you want a book with a story, a book that makes sense, a book that doesn't give you a headache, well, then you might want to skip this one. But I do promise, if you do give it a try, it is something special. And I do mean that in a good way. A Shining by John Fosse. Right, halfway there, and before we dive into our top 5, I do want to include a little bonus one. A bonus one because I know that most of you probably never will read this book. It is written in Dutch. I don't think there are ambitions to translate it in any other language, so you probably never get to hear of it otherwise. However, if this book would have been in English, it would probably have been the number 1 of this list. I'm talking about Wolf by Belgian author Lara Taverne. And this is a bit of a mind-blowing one. This book is based on a true story. Lara, the author, comes from a family with 5 children. The youngest one is called Wolf. He is about 18 years now. And one day he decides to disappear, to leave everything behind. He buys himself some time by leaving a message to his parents that, the battery of my cell phone is nearly dead and I won't be able to recharge it for a few days because I'm at uni, I'm studying, but we'll get back to each other in a few days. But he never doesn't. He simply takes a little moleskin book, a pen, a bit of luggage, just a backpack worth of luggage, and he leaves towards the north with the simple goal of to die there. Now, a few days later, of course, people start to notice that Wolf is gone. They start to look for him, but he has left without a trace. Nobody knows where, nobody knows why. And it will take up to 5 months until the thaw sets in Sweden and they find his body. And yes, he has written some entries in this moleskin journal he has to shed some light on what he was thinking, where he has been, what he was doing. But a lot of questions remain. And this is where this book becomes absolutely magnificent, interesting, and something totally new. Now, because all of these questions remain unanswered, this is where the author, his sister, becomes a bit of an unreliable narrator, which is quite uncommon for a true story. She starts to fantasize, starts to reminisce, starts to fill in the blanks herself, to create a story that she thinks might have happened. And it is this combination between a true story that we know from police reports, from his journal, from the facts that are there, and this beautiful prose, these predictions, memories, storytelling. This book was absolutely one of the best I read this year. But since I'm here to recommend you books and not all of you will be able to read this one, we'll just add it as a bonus. And now, onto our top 5. And kicking our top 5 off, we finally have something that isn't gruesome, isn't strange, isn't grimdark, or isn't heartbreaking. On the contrary, this book is a quite cozy, heartwarming, almost healing fiction kind of a story. This is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. Right, let's start with the elephant in the room. One of the main characters in this book is an octopus. Marcellus the octopus. And we love Marcellus the octopus. He is one of the best characters I read about for a whole year. This book tells the story of several people and of an octopus and how it all connects. We have Tova, who is this grandmotherly older woman who, is left behind alone. Her husband is dead. She's starting to doubt of whether she would be better off in a retirement home. And then we have Cameron. He's a bit of a failure. He's one of those guys who just manages to get fired from every job that he has been offered, and he doesn't really know what to do with his life. He is in a lot of debt, in a lot of trouble, and the only solution that he really sees out of this is to try and find this celebrity that might just be his father and squeeze him for his money. And as we continue in these several stories, they start to converge on each other. We meet Marcellus the octopus, and well, I'll just let you read from there on. And the thing with this book is it isn't all that special on the surface. Yes, there are books in this list that have much better prose. Yes, there are books in this list that have much better stories. But the thing with this book is that I don't care. This book was a hug, this book was heartwarming. It is something that I utterly enjoyed. This book is for you if you love books like A Man Called Ove, House on the Cerulean Sea. I should stay away from it though if you're not looking for a bit of a sappy story, if you're looking for a book where a lot of things happened, and if you just can't stand an octopus. But if you're looking for a book that is a warm cup of tea, a cozy blanket, and puppies and kittens all in one, then Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt is absolutely the book for you. Right, number 4, and buckle yourselves up because things are about to get really strange again. This is Bunny by Mona Awad, and still, after all of this time reading it, I read it somewhere in the summer, and still I don't know what I really think about this book. This book confuses me in all kinds of ways. I can see it is a satire, I can see it is a criticism, and it is creepy as fudge. I mean, we meet these students at a school of arts, and there is this little clique of almost perfectly sculpted girls that finish each other's sentences and absolutely love everything about each other and call each other bunnies. And these are the popular girls. Everyone wants to be a bunny, but they are, of course, very selective in who gets to be a bunny. Now, when our main character finally gets to be a bunny, this is where things just are very strange. All of a sudden there are rituals and illusionary boyfriends? Or are they real? I don't know what is happening in this book, and well, I'm at a loss. I liked it, but I can't really pinpoint why. I can see there is nothing wrong with this book. I mean, writing is excellent. It just keeps you on the edge of your seat even throughout all of the weirdness. It is a great book. It tells a great story. There is criticism. I mean, it has everything that I like in a book. It is a good book, I think. I really couldn't tell, but it's at number 4. Bunny by Mona Awad. Right, top 3. Number 3, Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. You know by now, if you have been following me on this channel, that this year was the year that I discovered Claire Keegan. She's the queen of the novella, the absolute empress of the short story. I've been reading a lot of her books. I will be reading some more next year. And Small Things Like These I read it in one sitting. Enough said. It is a story set in Ireland in the 1980s. We have this coal merchant. He goes on his rounds in what appears to be a very severe winter. It is around Christmas. Now, as he does his rounds and visits all of his customers, including the monastery, well, he starts to discover things about his very close-knit community. And he has to make a decision. Does he want to do good, or does he want to do what is good for him? Yes, that film is in the cinema right now. Have seen it already. Cillian Murphy absolutely shines in that movie, but I did prefer the book. It is a short book, it is a novella, and the film felt stretched. Normally you cut scenes from a book in a film. This felt the other way around. The book, however, is absolutely worth of your time. It has great writing, characters that you will absolutely come to love, and a story that is both true and fictional. It taps into the recent history of Ireland, but I'll leave it at that. You'll have to discover it for yourself. Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan at number 3. At number 2, again we have a Dutch book, but this is one I think that might see a translation in the upcoming future. This is the newest book by Lize, and the book would be translated into something like an autobiography of my body. And this book unpacks a lot. It is on the one hand the story of the author's mother, who one day just sends her children emails saying, well, you know, I happen to have cancer and I'm going to die. Now, the thing about Lize Spit's mother is that, well, she never had this great relationship with her children to begin with. She has been suffering from alcohol addiction all throughout her life, and this has formed and malformed this family as a whole. Now the email continues. It also announces, I'm going to divorce your father and I have met someone else. Now throughout this book, Lize tells about how she experiences the next year, 2 years that her mother still lives. In this book we get to see the different stages in the disease and how it affects this mother-daughter relationship. We go through chemotherapy, a glimmer of hope that the mothers might still heal, but also through the whole process of the body shutting down and in the end, how the funeral is arranged. But this book isn't just a book about the mother. It is an autobiography and it explains through memories, through the current affairs of this disease and through Lize Spitz's own diary entries from when she was 10, 11, how this disease, this demon of alcohol addiction shaped and misshaped this whole thinking about your own body, about who you are, about touching people, and it is a very heavy read. If there was ever a great written account of how alcoholism can destroy a family, can destroy a life, can destroy a body, then this is it. It is not a light read, and I would advise to look at the trigger warnings. But if you're looking for a very honest book, if you're looking for a very raw book, a very open book, a very courageous book, then this is absolutely it. It is written in the excellent prose I know and love Lize Spitz for, and it is something very different from her other books, but it is absolutely worth reading. However, if alcohol addiction is a trigger for you, if psychological torture between partners in a relationship is a trigger for you, if the whole relationship with our bodies and how it can go wrong is a trigger for you, then this might not be the book for you. But for me, this autobiography of my body by Lize Spitz was an absolute mind-blowing read. And that's why it goes on number 2. And then before we reveal our number 1, I wanted to thank you. This is the last video for this year. After this one, next week and the weeks to follow, I will be celebrating the holidays with my family. I will go out with my book club. I mean, this is the time to rest. But I wanted to thank you. Thank you for watching this video and thank you if you've been here for the whole year, maybe even longer. You guys make this channel. And if it wasn't for you, I would just be a silly man shouting into the void. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. Thank you for all of the likes, the subscribes, the comments, the community. You guys are what makes this channel great. I want to wish you happy holidays. Celebrate whatever you celebrate and do it with friends and loved ones. Take some time for self-care to read a book. I will be back in January for a new year of book recommendations and I hope I see you there. So thank you for watching and Merry Christmas. And now, drum roll please, our number 1. Our number 1 this year is the Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. Oh, this book broke my heart and mended it in one story all at once. It is such a beautiful story of a cat and his owner that go on a road trip together. A road trip throughout Japan. And every time they stop and they pause and they halt, they meet old friends or old family members. And we get to discover the owner's life and the previous cats he had. And all of these stops are like smaller stories that are beautifully well chained together in an overarching story. A story that we slowly start to discover as we slowly start to discover why they are undertaking this journey. And the ending of this book will have you in tears. It is sad, it is beautiful, it is heartbreaking, it is heartwarming. I absolutely fell in love with this book. And I'm not even a cat person. It is a beautiful example of Japanese literary fiction, and I will say I have both read it as a physical copy and listened to it as an audiobook, and the audiobook was top-notch. I mean, the narrator did such a great job of giving a voice to the cat, and with all of this almost stiff upper lip, British condescending, looking down on the world, and all of these petty creatures in it, as a cat would, I suppose. So yeah, I would absolutely recommend this one as an audiobook as well. I'll not spoil anything more about it. I'll just say go out, get yourself a copy, and do read it, do listen to it, because it is such a beautiful, beautiful story. And my number one for this year, The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. And that's the top 10. Now, before you go, I want to hear from you. What was your absolute favorite book that you read this year? I need recommendations for 2025, so do leave them down in the comments. And while you're there, why not leave a like? That's a wrap for 2024. Thank you for watching. But if you can't wait until January for me to return, which I can't blame you for, then you can always watch this video.